Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are actually putting aside the history books and the scientific journals to focus on something that I think a lot of us hold near and dear to our hearts. We're looking at a very specific slice of pop culture history.
Yeah, we are. We're talking about arguably the absolute peak of 90s sitcom television.
We are talking about Frasier, but, not just the show in general. We're zooming in with a microscope on season 5.
Which is such a fascinating choice.
Mm.
Usually when people talk about Frasier, they talk about the pilot or they talk about the finale, or maybe they just quote lines about sherry and tossed salads.
Right, exactly.
But focusing on season 5 specifically, that is where the gold is buried, literally and figuratively.
Literally gold. And before we get into the why of it all, let's just set the stage for you listening at home. We are transporting ourselves back to late 1997. The season premiered on September 23rd, 1997 on NBC.
Which was a massive time for NBC.
Huge. Seinfeld is winding down its final season. Friends is absolutely huge. And here is this show about a snooty Seattle psychiatrist that is just completely dominating the landscape.
It wasn't just dominating, it was evolving. If you were watching NBC in September of 97 and you tuned in for the premiere, you might have noticed something different right away.
The title card.
Exactly, the title card. For 4 years, the word Frasier came up on the screen in different colors. It was blue, red, purple.
Yeah.
But in season 5, it was gold.
Just solid gold. That feels like a massive flex.
Oh, it was absolutely flex. It was a victory lap before the race even started.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point, the show had won the Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series 4 years in a row.
That's practically unheard of.
It really is. And spoiler alert, they would go on to win it for this season too, making it 5. They were completely untouchable.
Yeah.
But the mission of our deep dive today isn't just to list their awards.
No, we want to figure out how a show that could have easily just coasted on its massive success decided instead to just, well, blow everything up.
Blow everything up is the perfect way to phrase it.
It sounds a little dramatic for a show that's mostly known for, opera jokes and wine tasting.
It is dramatic. But just look at the arc of this season. We are exploring how they balanced high farce, like the classic door-slamming comedy they were famous for, with massive, irreversible life changes. This is the season where they really took the safety nets away.
So we're essentially talking about the death of the status quo.
That's exactly what it is. We have Roz Doyle's life turning completely upside down. We have the total painful deconstruction of Niles' marriage. We have Martin facing his own mortality. And then a season finale that literally destroys the character's workplace.
Yeah, if you think Frasier is just comfy, safe television, season 5 really challenges that notion. So I want to start with one of the biggest shocks to the system, the evolution of Roz Doyle. Let's call this the pregnancy arc.
This was a massive shift for the show. Up until this point, Roz is the quintessential single girl in the city. She's the gritty counterpoint to Frasier's stuffiness.
Right. She's dating, she's having fun, she's a bit cynical.
Yeah, and so giving her a baby, that fundamentally changes the DNA of the entire show.
And it all kicks off in the episode titled Halloween. Now, I rewatched this recently, and it is just chaotic.
Halloween is an absolute masterclass in sitcom structure. It aired October 28th, 97, and the setting is crucial here. Niles is throwing a literary-themed Halloween party.
Of course he is, because a regular Halloween party would be too pedestrian for Niles Crane.
Exactly. So everyone is dressed as characters from literature. Niles is Cyrano de Bergerac. Frasier is Geoffrey Chaucer. It's pretentious, it's highbrow, and it is the absolute perfect backdrop for a very gritty, real-world problem.
Which is that Roz fears she might be pregnant.
Right. And Frasier, being Frasier, decides to drag her to this party to distract her.
Which seems like a terrible idea from the start.
It's a horrible idea. But just watch how the writers use the party mechanics. Frasier gets drunk, which is pretty rare for him, and he accidentally leaks the information that Roz might be pregnant.
But he doesn't just get up on a table and announce it.
No, it slips out in conversation. And because everyone is in costume and everyone is drinking, it turns into this incredible game of telephone.
Oh, right, I remember this. People start whispering, and the rumor just morphs completely out of control.
Precisely. The rumor shifts from Roz is pregnant to Frasier got Roz pregnant to Daphne is pregnant. It's a complete farce engine. The gossip moves so much faster than the truth.
And it's hilarious. But then we get to the key moment. Amidst all this silliness, all these layered literary puns, Roz steps in.
She literally cuts the tension. She stops the music. She interrupts Frasier, who is desperately trying to do damage control at this point, and she just says it. She's heard from her doctor. She is pregnant.
It's a total record scratch moment.
It is. The laughter completely dies in the room. The farce evaporates. It's the writers directly telling the audience, okay, the jokes are over. This is real now.
It's such a brilliant tonal shift. Oh, and I wanted to bring up a fun little trivia nugget here from the sources. The character Eve at the party, that's Camille Donatachi. She had actually married Kelsey Grammer just 2 months before this episode aired.
Talk about keeping it in the family.
Right. And wasn't there a famous guest caller in this one, too?
There was. Cindy Crawford calls into the radio show as Dorothy. It just goes to show you the sheer cultural cachet the show had at that time. Supermodels were literally lining up to be hung up on by Frasier Crane.
Amazing. So the bomb is dropped, Roz is pregnant, but the very next episode, which is called The Kid, is where the reality of the situation really sets in, because now she has to deal with the father.
And this is where we see that classic class conflict that Frasier loves to play with. Because Roz is a professional. She's a radio producer, she's in her 30s.
Yeah.
And the father,
Rick, the waiter.
right, Rick, a 20-year-old waiter at Cafe Nervosa. Frasier just happens to spot him by chance. And the casting here is so brilliant because Rick isn't a bad guy.
No, he's not a villain at all.
He's just young. He's this cheerful, golden retriever of human being.
Which honestly makes the situation so much more uncomfortable than if he were a jerk. Because if he were a jerk, you could just write him off and say good riddance.
Exactly. You could dismiss him. But when Roz tells him the news, Rick tries to do the noble thing. He offers to drop out of college. He offers to marry her. He really tries to step up.
And this is the pivot moment, right? This is where Roz becomes a completely different character in the eyes of the audience.
It really is. I mean, a lesser show would have dragged this conflict out for half a season or had them awkwardly try to date. But Roz looks at this kid, and he really is a kid, and she realizes that letting him ruin his future to support her would be a massive mistake for both of them.
So she tells him to stay in school. She effectively sends him away.
She chooses to be a single mother. And you have to remember, in 1997, on network television, that was a very strong choice. It wasn't quite Murphy Brown levels of controversy, but it was still highly significant.
Yeah, she displays a maturity that we really hadn't seen from her before. She stops being just the wisecracking sidekick and starts becoming a matriarch.
And we see that fully pay off at the end of the season in the episode The Life of the Party.
Right, which takes us to May of '98. The baby arrives. But look at the context of the episode. Roz is at a singles party that Niles and Frasier are throwing.
Yes, she's heavily pregnant. She's feeling huge. She feels completely invisible to men. It's actually a very vulnerable and honest look at late-stage pregnancy.
And then, of course, her water breaks at the party.
It's a standard sitcom trope, for sure. But the payoff isn't the birth itself, it's the scene afterward at the hospital. If you look at who is looking through the nursery window at baby Alice May Doyle.
It's the gang. It's Frasier, Niles, Martin, and Daphne.
The work family. It completely solidifies that these people are her village now. Rick isn't there. Her parents aren't there. The Cranes are there. It entirely redefines the ensemble dynamic for the rest of the series.
It's incredibly sweet. Okay, so Roz is building a brand new life. But on the flip side of that coin, we have Niles Crane, who is essentially watching his life burn to the ground. Let's dig into the deconstruction of Niles Crane.
This is truly the heavy emotional lifting of season 5. Because for 4 years, Maris was just a joke. She was this unseen, cartoonish villain.
Yeah, she was just a collection of bizarre eccentricities. She can't produce saliva. She fits through the bars of a wrought iron gate. We just laughed at her.
But this season, the laughter abruptly stops. It turns into genuine trauma. It starts with the episode The Zoo Story. Niles is in couples counseling with Maris. And we finally get a real glimpse of just how manipulative she is as a person.
Right. She wants Niles to fire their therapist.
Yes. And Niles thinks the therapist is actually helping them, so he refuses.
Which is great. Good for Niles for standing his ground.
It is good for Niles. It's a real spine-stiffening moment for a character who is usually so submissive. But Maris brutally punishes him for it. She cuts off all conjugal visits. She literally uses intimacy as a weapon to control him.
Which is just dark. It's really dark for a sitcom.
It's abusive. Let's just call it what it is. And Niles is really struggling with it. But the real circuit breaker comes later in the episode, the Maris counselor.
Oh, this episode. My heart breaks for Niles in this one. He tries so hard. He plans this whole romantic surprise for her.
He does. He goes to their house to surprise her in the bedroom. And he discovers that Maris is having an affair. But the twist, the absolute knife in the back, is who she is having the affair with.
Dr. Schenkman, the therapist, the exact guy that Niles fought so hard to keep.
The very man Niles refused to fire because of his own professional ethics. It is a devastating double betrayal, and when he's confronted, Schenkman says something that makes you realize just how deeply delusional he is.
Right, he calls Maris a selfless soul.
A selfless soul.
I mean, Maris, selfless, it's absurd.
It highlights that Schenkman is completely under her spell. He's been manipulated just like Niles was. But we really have to talk about David Hyde Pierce's acting in this specific episode, because there is a scene where Niles fully breaks down.
Right, he's in a group therapy session that Frasier is leading.
Yes, he bursts in. And if you just watch his face, it's incredible. He starts by trying to intellectualize the whole thing. He's a psychiatrist, right? So he uses all these clinical words like transference and displacement.
He's manic.
Totally man. He's desperately trying to diagnose his own heartbreak so he doesn't actually have to feel it.
But it doesn't work. The clinical detachment fails him.
No, the facade completely cracks. He physically collapses. And the show is brave enough to just let it happen. There is a solid chunk of time in that scene where there is absolutely no laugh track. It's just a man realizing his marriage is a total sham. It's a sheer masterclass in tragicomedy.
So he leaves her. He finally finds the strength to leave her.
He signs the papers. He walks away from the generational wealth, the mansion, the urinal cakes with the family crest on them. He becomes a man living in this jagged, weird little apartment. He is entirely deconstructed.
But you know what they say, when one door closes, another one opens, or at least it cracks open a little bit.
Yeah.
We have to talk about Daphne, because season 5 is absolutely huge for the whole will they, weren't they dynamic.
It's completely pivotal. With Maris officially out of the picture, the main external obstacle is gone. Technically, Niles is free, but the internal obstacle, which is Niles' sheer terror of rejection, is very much still there.
Well, we mentioned Halloween earlier. He actually proposed to her in that episode.
Drunk. He was very drunk. And he was under the bizarre impression that she was the one pregnant with Frasier's baby, and she needed saving.
Right, it was this weird white knight complex gone terribly wrong.
Exactly. But from a storytelling perspective, it put the visual image of Niles proposing to Daphne right into the audience's head. It primed the pump.
But the real forward movement happens in the episode First Date.
This is such a fascinating psychological study of Niles. He decides he's finally going to ask her out. He pumps himself up. He talks it through with Frasier. He is ready to do it.
And then chokes, completely freezes up.
He freezes. Daphne mentions that she likes some guy or says something totally innocuous, and Niles just panics. To protect his fragile ego, he invents a massive lie on the spot. He says he's actually in love with a neighbor named Phyllis.
Which is wild. Why does he do this? It seems so incredibly counterproductive to his actual goal.
It's a pure defense mechanism. If he asks Daphne out and she says no, it destroys him completely. If he pretends to like this fake woman Phyllis, he's emotionally safe. But the lie immediately spirals out of control.
Because Daphne, being the sweet, supportive friend she is, offers to help him cook a romantic dinner for Phyllis.
So now he's cooking a complex seduction dinner for a woman who does not exist, alongside the woman he is actually desperately in love with. It's torture.
It's hilarious, delicious torture, and he actually has to recruit a real neighbor to play Phyllis because the lie gets so far out of hand.
Yes, but Frasier, and this is exactly why we love Frasier as a character, intervenes. He sees what's happening, and he chases the real neighbor away by casually telling her that Niles killed his first wife.
He says something like, he has a temper.
It's brilliant. And the result of that sabotage, the neighbor flees in terror. Niles and Daphne are left completely alone with this beautiful romantic dinner, and they sit down and eat it together.
So it actually becomes a date?
It's a proxy date. It allows them to safely enact the ritual of dating without any of the actual risk. It's a baby step, sure, but it's the very first time they're really sitting down as equals, sharing a romantic meal. It subtly but permanently changes the energy between them.
Speaking of chaotic energy, we have to pivot and talk about the Steelage.
The masterpiece of the season.
You called this the prime example of the show's structural brilliance in the notes. Now, for listeners who might just remember it as the episode with the gay ski instructor, why is this specific half hour so revered by television writers?
Because it is a pure, unadulterated French farce. Specifically, it follows the intricate style of the playwright Georges Feydeau.
Feydeau, okay, break that down for us. What does that actually mean in practice?
So in your typical 90s sitcom, the comedy is almost entirely in the dialogue. It's bing, bang, boom, punchline, setup, joke, setup, joke. In a Feydeau farce, The comedy comes from the physical architecture and the sheer mechanics of misunderstanding. It's all about who is in what room, which door's opening at what exact second, and who just narrowly missed seeing whom. It is highly mathematical comedy.
So set the scene for us in this episode.
The setup is deliberately contrived, as all classic farces have to be. Roz wins a weekend trip to a ski lodge, but she can't go, so she trades to Frasier for a new television.
Naturally.
So the whole gang heads up to this cabin. Frasier, Niles, Daphne, and Martin. Plus their two guests, Annie, who is a beautiful swimsuit model and a friend of Daphne's, and Guy, the very handsome, very French ski instructor.
And this is where the famous round robin of attraction begins.
It's a daisy chain of desire. And let's actually track it, because if you miss even one link in this chain, the whole engine falls apart. Okay, so Frasier desperately wants Annie. He is pursuing her very aggressively.
Got it. Frasier likes Annie.
But Annie is completely not interested in Frasier. She is utterly obsessed with Niles. She thinks Niles is this tortured, poetic, romantic soul.
Which, to be fair, he is, just not for her.
Right. Niles is entirely blind to Annie because he only wants Daphne. Daphne, meanwhile, decides she wants a fun little holiday fling. So she is actively pursuing Guy, the ski instructor.
And Guy, who does Guy want?
Guy thinks Niles is pursuing him.
It's so funny. Why does he think that?
It's all because of Martin. Martin's ears are clogged from the high altitude of the mountains. He literally can't hear a single thing anyone is saying. So when Guy says things to Martin like, "Your son is very handsome," Martin just smiles, nods, and gives him a big thumbs up.
Oh my gosh.
So Guy thinks he has the father's explicit blessing to date his son Niles.
And doesn't Guy also think that Daphne and Annie are a couple?
Yes, because he catches them in a bedroom together in a totally innocent but compromising-looking situation.
Yeah.
So you have this perfect, unbroken circle of misunderstanding. Frasier wants Annie, Annie wants Niles, Niles wants Daphne, Daphne wants Guy, Guy wants Niles, and Guy thinks Daphne and Annie are together. It creates a perpetual motion machine of slamming doors and near misses.
And the dialogue during all this?
The dialogue is almost secondary to the geometry of the scene. The absolute funniest moments are just silent reaction shots.
Like Niles' face.
Yes. Niles realizing that Guy is hitting on him. Or Frasier realizing at the very climax of the chaos that he is the only single person in the entire lodge who is not being lusted after by anyone. It's an intricate ballet.
Yeah.
You could legitimately watch the episode with the sound totally turned off and still completely understand the story.
Yeah.
That is incredibly hard to write.
It really is. It feels exactly like a stage play translated to television. Okay, so let's pivot from the physical chaos of the ski lodge to the mental chaos happening inside Frasier Crane's head. Because season 5 really puts his massive ego under the microscope.
It really does. You know, on paper, Frasier's an incredibly successful man. He's rich, he's famous in his city, he's highly educated. But underneath all of that, he has this gaping, unfillable hole of insecurity. And season 5 just constantly pokes at it.
Let's look at the episode The Thousandth Show. This is obviously a huge milestone for his radio career.
It is. 1,000 broadcasts.
Yeah.
And Frasier plays his classic humble servant routine. Oh, I don't want to fuss. It's just my job. Please don't make a big deal out of it. But secretly, he wants a parade.
He absolutely wants the confetti and the marching bands.
He craves the external validation. And the city actually gives it to him. The mayor officially declares it Frasier Crane Day in Seattle. There's a massive rally set up at the base of the Space Needle. By all accounts, this should be the greatest day of his entire life.
But of course, it goes terribly wrong.
Horribly, hilariously wrong. He and Niles decide to walk to the rally to enjoy the adulation of the city, but they get lost. Frasier gets stung by a bee. A blind man ends up stealing his shoes. It's an odyssey of disaster. He completely misses his own rally. He misses his big moment of glory.
But there's a moment at the very end of the episode that I think really saves it from just being 30 minutes of Frasier needlessly suffering.
You're talking about the limo scene.
Yeah. He ends
Yeah.
up sharing a ride. I think it's a limo with a fan.
The listener. The chauffeur of the limo, a guy named John. So Frasier is sitting in the back, completely miserable. He's ranting about how his day is ruined and nobody cares about him. And then he stops and asks John, "Do you actually listen to my show?"
And John says yes.
And John starts telling him a story about how Frasier's advice helped him deal with a really tough problem he was having with his brother.
And Frasier just completely shuts up.
He stops performing and he actually listens. And you can visibly see the massive ego deflate and the actual doctor appear. He realizes in that quiet moment that the giant rally doesn't matter. The 999 people cheering at the Space Needle don't matter. Helping this one specific guy in the front seat matters. It completely grounds him.
It's a beautiful moment, but, that ego is very resilient and it comes bouncing right back, especially in his dating life. Which brings us to a section we're calling relationship failures.
It is a brutally funny year for Frasier's heart. He dates these incredible, formidable women, but either he ruins it or the universe ruins it for him.
Let's take Frasier's imaginary friend as an example. He dates Sayla Ward.
He dates Kelly Easterbrook,
Oh.
a literal supermodel who also happens to be a zoologist. She is objectively the perfect woman.
But nobody in his family belies him.
Because she's going through a messy breakup, and she insists on keeping their relationship a total secret. It's a brilliant reversal of the classic George class trope, or the fake girlfriend in Canada excuse. Frasier is actually telling the truth, but because of the circumstances, he sounds completely insane to everyone around him.
Right, his family starts pitying him.
They honestly think he's having a psychotic break, much like Niles did.
It's a direct attack on his credibility, which he values so highly. And then there's the episode My Fair Frasier.
Now, this one attacks his masculinity, or at least his very traditional, rigid view of his own masculinity. He starts dating Samantha Pierce, who is a high-powered, high-profile defense attorney. And in this dynamic, she's the busy one. She's the one constantly canceling dates because of work. She's the undeniable alpha in the relationship.
And Frasier essentially becomes the wife.
In the classic 1950s sitcom sense of the word, yes. He becomes the homemaker. He's the one waiting by the phone. He's the one pouting when she's late. He's picking out gifts for her colleagues. And he absolutely hates it.
He can't handle it.
He cannot handle not being the dominant driving force in the relationship. It totally exposes his deep need for control.
But the absolute ultimate blow to his ego out of the whole season has to be the episode The Perfect Guy.
Oh, Dr. Clint Weber.
Played so brilliantly by Billy Campbell.
This character is as if he was designed in a secret laboratory just to systematically destroy Frasier Crane's self-esteem. He's incredibly handsome. He's a brilliant doctor. He went to Oxford. He plays squash better than Frasier. He speaks much better French than Frasier.
And the worst part for Frasier is that he's nice.
He's incredibly nice. He's genuinely humble and kind. And Frasier cannot stand it for a second. He spends the entire duration of the episode desperately, obsessively trying to find just one single flaw, just one tiny thing that Clint is bad at.
But why? I mean, why can't he just be happy to have found a peer?
Because Frasier's entire identity is built on the foundation of being the best. He has to be the smartest guy in the room. He has to be the most cultured. If Clint Weber exists and is better at all those things, then Frasier feels entirely redundant. It's deep existential dread disguised as petty, childish jealousy.
And when he finally finds the flaw...
And Clint is tone deaf. He confidently sings a song, and he's absolutely awful at it. He can't carry a tune in a bucket. And the look of pure, unadulterated, malicious joy on Frasier's face when he hears it is just priceless. It's so petty, but it's also deeply, deeply human.
We've all been there. All right, let's move from the sons to the patriarch, Martin Crane. We spend so much time talking with the boys and their neuroses, but Martin actually had a very quiet, very beautiful, emotional arc throughout season 5.
Martin is the anchor of the show, and the episode The Gift Horse is really the essential Martin episode of the season, if not the whole series. It centers around his 65th birthday.
This is the episode where they try to outgift each other, right? Frasier buys him the giant TV.
Right. Frasier buys him this massive, absurdly large, wall-sized television because Frasier often equates money with love. He drops a fortune on this thing, and he smugly thinks he's easily won the birthday.
But Niles goes in a completely different, much more thoughtful direction.
Niles buys a Gides. A Gides is an old police horse that Martin used to ride when he was on mounted patrol back in his glory days. Niles tracked this specific horse down and paid for its full retirement in a really nice stable.
And the scene where they actually go to visit the horse, it's very different tonally. It's not playing for laughs.
No, it's profoundly melancholy. Martin walks into the stable and sees this old, tired horse. And he essentially sees himself. He delivers this incredible quiet monologue to the horse about how the two of them used to be so strong. They used to own the city streets. People respected them. They were in the thick of the action. And now they're just old.
Yeah.
They have stiff knees. They can't do the job anymore. They've essentially been put out to pasture by society.
It's a really stark meditation on aging.
It is. And it hits both of the brothers incredibly hard. Because initially, Frasier's just jealous that Niles obviously got the better, more meaningful gift. He's pouting about it. But in a moment of genuine emotional growth, when they both see Martin crying over the horse, Niles does something unexpected. He tells Martin that the gift is actually from both of them.
He voluntarily shares the credit.
He totally sacrifices his own victory in this sibling rivalry just to preserve Frasier's dignity and to maximize Martin's happiness. It's an incredibly selfless, mature moment for Niles.
It's beautiful. And we also see Martin's heartbreak later in this season, his ongoing relationship with Sherry.
Sherry Dempsey, the absolute bane of the Crane boys' existence. She is loud, she's brash, she wears strong perfume, she plays the banjo in the apartment.
But Martin genuinely loves her. She makes him laugh when he's usually so grumpy.
She definitely brings a lot of life and noise into that quiet apartment. But in the episode, ain't nobody's business. If I do, the relationship finally ends. And I love exactly how the writers handled this breakup.
Right, because the boys try to sabotage it, don't they?
Oh, they do. They hire a private investigator to dig into her past, and they find out she's been married 6 times before.
Which is an awful invasion of privacy.
It's terrible behavior.
Yeah.
But that is actually not why the couple breaks up. Martin proposes to Sherry. He wants the commitment of marriage. Sherry loves him deeply, but she values her personal freedom. She's been married 6 times. She doesn't want to be tied down again.
So it's a completely mature adult breakup.
Exactly. It's not a sitcom misunderstanding that can be solved in 5 minutes. It's 2 people who just fundamentally want different things out of the rest of their lives. Martin realizes that at his age, 65, he wants permanence. He wants a wife. Sherry just wants a boyfriend to have fun with. It's heartbreaking specifically because nobody is the bad guy in the situation.
It's just life. Okay, so we have covered the unexpected pregnancy, the bitter divorce, the bruised ego, the heartbreaking breakup. Now we finally arrive at the season finale, Sweet Dreams.
This is the episode where the writers just decided to burn the entire house down to the ground.
And it starts over something so incredibly small. It starts with tea.
Right. Frasier is asked to read a live commercial on his show for Happy Dreams Tea, but he tries it, and he thinks it's complete snake oil. It doesn't work. It tastes awful. So he stands on his principles and outright refuses to read the ad copy.
Which, as an audience, we generally respect. We like that he has integrity.
We do. But the real-world consequences are catastrophic. The station management fires him for insubordination.
And then it just snowballs from there?
The new station manager, Kenny, tries to defend Frasier to the higher-ups, so Kenny gets fired. Seeing this, Frasier decides to lead a full-blown workers' revolt. He gathers all the on-air talent, Bulldog, Yul Chesterton, Roz. They march down to the mysterious station owner's office to demand their jobs back and stand up for creative integrity.
It's like Les Miserables taking place in a Seattle radio station.
It really is. Until they actually meet the owner. They think his name is Joe Martin, this corporate suit. It turns out it's Jose Martinez, and he isn't firing them because of the tea boycott at all.
Why is he firing them?
He's fundamentally changing the station's format. He's flipping KACL from talk radio to Latino Amigo, an all-Latino music station.
So it's not a personal vendetta against Frasier's principles. It's just cold, hard business.
Which actually makes it so much worse for Frasier's ego. You can argue with a person about ethics, but you cannot argue with a demographic shift in market research. Martinez just fires everyone on the spot. Frasier, Roz, Bulldog, Gil. In one fell swoop, the entire core cast is unemployed.
And the episode ends on such an odd, jarring note.
The credits roll, and usually for 5 years we hear Frasier singing tossed salads and scrambled eggs, but this time it's an upbeat salsa version of the theme song.
It's a total shock to the system.
It creates this massive, unsettling void. The audience in May of 1998 was left thinking, wait, is there even going to be a radio show next year? What exactly is this show if they aren't working at the station? It was a massive structural cliffhanger.
So let's try to synthesize all of this. We started the hour by saying season 5 is the death of the status quo.
And just think about exactly where we end up. Roz is a single mother with a newborn. Niles is divorced and living alone in a depressing bachelor pad. Martin is single again and feeling his age. And everyone, the entire ensemble, is unemployed. The chessboard hasn't just been moved, it's been completely flipped over.
And yet, despite all that heavy drama, it's also arguably the funniest season of the show's entire run.
That is the specific magic of season 5. They managed to seamlessly blend the absolute darkest, most vulnerable moments of these characters' lives with the highest, most chaotic peaks of physical farce. They genuinely trusted their audience to handle the tonal whiplash.
I want to leave you, the listeners, with the final thought to chew on. We talked a lot today about Niles. He goes through absolute hell this season. He loses his wife, he loses his family money, he loses his social standing, his home.
He is completely stripped bare of everything that defined him.
But because of that, He also finally gains the courage to eat that dinner with Daphne. He gains the courage to finally stand up to Maris's abuse. So here's the question for you. Was the total destruction of Niles' safe, wealthy, insulated life the necessary trauma required to make him a man worthy of Daphne Moon?
Oh, wow. Did he have to lose the fantasy life to actually get the reality he wanted?
Exactly. Did the universe essentially have to break him down to nothing just to build him back up into someone who could actually be a strong, equal partner to her?
That is a profoundly interesting question. And looking at the evidence of the season, I think the answer is yes.
It's definitely something to mull over. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Frasier Season 5. We will catch you on the next one.